Hey, what is up, guys? And welcome back to another Magic the Gathering online league. We're back with Eldrazi Ramp on the draw for game one. I was hoping for a lab off top there. Now I get to hope for either a lab or a forest, but if not, just Talisman Cavern into Micah Spawn's still not bad, all things considered. Jernsen Force Cycle would suggest potential Living End, Breeding Pool. This looks like Sultai Living End if I had to guess. So I'll see if that is the case. Might mean that we are turned slow on the Mega Spawns Bajuka Bog, though, unfortunately. So we would really like this Rumble. That way we can put some creatures into yard, maybe stave off them for going for a Living End next turn. If they pick up Speaker here, it might mean that they are short on Charlotte's Agent. They choose not to, so they have the Charlotte's Agent in hand. That's a Devour. So in that case, yeah, we're in a bit of a tough position, I'd say, here. Opponent is going to be able to Living End uncontested. Alright. There's the Agent. Into Living End. Bodies will hit the board. I mean, we're not dead yet. We're just not exactly in a good position either. Imagine they pick up the Subtlety, would make sense. Yep. And then Speaker can pitch a card for, let's say, another Charlotte's Agent. At this point, I'm trying to think of what our plays are. At this point, we just need bodies on board more than anything. So I'm wondering if we go Cavernous Soul, non-kicked Myco into Rumble just to put two bodies on board. So we have some blockers. So that way we can then line up Devour and Ugin, potentially. That Subtlety in hand does make things a bit difficult. Wistfulness into hand. Overlord trigger, we draw. Emrakul. So we can go Countersoul's Name Eldrazi. We cast Myco Spawn. Myco Spawn, yield all. Again, let's see if they use the Subtlety or not. They do not. I will grab Temple. So Wistfulness can bounce. There's a Subtlety pitching the Wistfulness, so those two are out. Do I want this on top right now? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 minus 2 would be 7. So I'll say yield all, and I'll put this on top. I guess we'd have the Rumble. That does guarantee a type in yard for the Emrakul. Yeah, why not? Put it on top. That is okay. Got a 19. We Rumble. Double Myco Spawn. We'll take the Myco Spawn. 3 types in yard. At this point, we're going to pass 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We do have enough for Emrakul if we don't block, though I'm hard-pressed to think that I wouldn't here. Another issue is, of course, that they're going to be able to attack from the Overlord the Baelmerk and grab the Subtlety back. I mean that no matter what I play, it will get hit by Subtlety. That does become an issue. So we will block the Overlord down to 4. Again, not necessarily dead yet. Overlord the Belmark triggers. We draw. Verdant Cat. Let's think if there is a way out here. The way I'm looking at it right now doesn't feel like it. We could theoretically play a Myco Spawn into a Devour. Devour hits the Sky Turtle, but they're going to Subtlety one of the two bodies. At most, then we are able to block. We do have another type off of that. I guess our hope would be that we are able to Shardless Agent and sweep their board, but they also have plenty of stuff. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we do have enough for Emrakul, but we're definitely going to get it by Subtlety. I mean, that might not be the... I think that might be our only out, because I don't think any other option gets us to where we need to be. So we will cast Emrakul, but I do think short of a Shardless Agent and an Endurance, I think we are dead. That's a channel effect. I'm just trying to think what my outs are here. Yep, there's a Subtlety pitching the Wistfulness. If they had a Shardless Agent in hand, they would have pitched the Shardless Agent to the Subtlety. So they don't have a Shardless Agent in hand. That is noted. We'll put the Emrakul on top on the off chance it's relevant. There's Subtlety, there's Speaker, there's Living End, we draw. There's Wistfulness, we go to main. So we can't do much with Living End. We can play Speaker, pitch a card for a Shardless Agent, but then we don't have the mana to cast the Shardless Agent. We can play the Wistfulness, and it does specify artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. I really do hate that. I kind of wish there were less clauses on opponent controls, specifically for cards like Wistfulness. Draw 2, discard a card isn't good enough here. Halo Forger wouldn't be enough here. Subtlety isn't enough here. We cannot do much from what I can see, unfortunately. Might be missing a line, but I don't see anything that would suggest I am. Nothing I can grab from Yard with attacks from Overlord that I could instant speed use to my advantage, so we are going to concede. Alright. Yeah, once I saw Living End with, like, realistically speaking, our turn 3 kick to Myco Spawn in most matchups would be good, especially with the hand we had. Unfortunately, they just had a little bit too much gas. So they shouldn't be playing Consign. So we can drop the Cavern of Souls, keep the Bajuka Bog, drop the Gemstone. We want Jailer, Trinisphere, Bauble. Assuming that Living End plays Inevitable Betrayal, we want to drop Emrakul's Sire and bring in 4 more cards. So I'm thinking Flute, 6, and what else? I guess if we're assuming Betrayal, we could bring in the Grafdigger's Cage. That is an option. Like I said, Cavern Soul is not doing much in this matchup specifically. We could bring in Heat, but I think just the Cage should be fine. And run it back like this. On the play for game 2. That hand is unfortunately too slow, I think. We go Commercial District, take a peek. Even if we find, let's say, if we find a forest to forest equivalent, yes, we can go then sprawl into Talisman And that would allow for an Ice Till on 3, but still a little bit slower than I'd like. I'm going to mulligan this. That hand's somehow worse. We'll mulligan again. And wow, that is 2 back-to-back hands with no lands, 22 lands in deck. The odds of that are pretty slim. We'll have to mulligan again, and another 1-lander. That's wild. The percent chances of these things happening are very small, and we are getting ultra punished for it. One more. That's a lot better, but we're down to 3 cards. So I'm thinking we drop Breaker, Devour, Sanctum, Talisman, keep Rumble, and Pray. Sure. Not exactly what I wanted to see there. Yeah, 2 back-to-back no-landers is pretty rough. And then 2 1-landers as well. If we get forced, we're just kind of SOL. If we can find another temple here, though, that'd be fantastic. Misty Rainforest fetched on the 19. Surveil. I mean, if we can have Rumble Resolve, that would be fantastic. We can find a temple that makes it all that much better. That we can kick the Myco. General Sentinel Force Cycle. Hedge Maze to hand. We whiff on the Soul Land, but we see a Myco spawn. I'm going to take the Myco spawn. This way we can play the first Myco spawn, then kick the second Myco spawn if we draw into a land. Yeah, I think that's correct. Again, I'm assuming opponents on Betrayal, hence why we took out Sire and Emrakul. We'll have to wait and see, though. If they are on Living End still, we could be in trouble. Though they only have an Enten Yard, so we'll see. There's Ugin. Not really what I wanted to see here. I will grab the Myco spawn, and we'll go for another temple. One black source. Genercent Force Cycle. Why Force Cycle now when I could reasonably Bajuka Bog? Is that a misplay on my opponent's part, or is that an example where opponent is demonstrating they're no longer on Living End, but on Betrayal? My best guess is that they're on Betrayal, and we don't want to Bajuka Bog here. So I think we just go for our original line, just go for another temple, hope for a land off top so we can kick the Myco spawn on 4 and just ramp into this Ugin. So we're going to go temple, and we're going to pass. And pass. Show me Charlotte's Agent into Betrayal. And they shock the breeding pool. And there's the Charlotte's Agent. And there's the Betrayal. So we were correct. Opponent's going to be really disappointed with the options available to them. The biggest body in my deck right now is a 6/6 Devour. The biggest toughness would be the 5/7 World Breaker. They do have some utility in the way of Ice Till or Speaker, but they don't want to grab a Myco spawn. They could grab 6. 6 actually is a decent option for them here. It's not the greatest, but it's an option. Regardless, the opponent's not going to find many good options for Betrayal targets. We're playing a very fair game of Magic, for all intent and purpose. There's the Breaker, that's fine. And I think the Breaker makes sense in the grand scheme because that means I can't double block opponent. and trade with the Devour off of Myco Spawn, for example. Land, please. That is a Sprawl. That is not a land, in fact. So we are going to play Myco Spawn. We don't really want the Sprawl on board, as Wistfulness can pop it. So we'll just continue ramping. We do have the Ice Till still, though, so there is some thought to getting a second green source here. That way if we do draw into it, but it looks like opponent's going to pitch Charlotte's Agent. They do not care to betray any of my creatures, it would seem. So they're going to shuffle away my Myco Spawn. That is fine. Doesn't matter where we put it since we're going to shuffle anyways. Shifting Woodland has no good targets. We, again, could go for another green source. That way we draw into the Ice Till. That's the only instance where we need a double green. We could Bojuka Bog in case we think they're still playing a Living End. Though most likely I think just grabbing the Temple is correct. That way we can cast Devour or World Break or what have you. So we'll grab another Temple and we'll pass. And I guess if we have nothing to do next turn, we'll play the Sprawl regardless and set up for double green for Ice Till if needed. Opponent will likely just attack enough Breaker, and I'll take the 5 down to 15. Damping Sphere, wow, that makes these temples so much worse. Jesus. I am surprised to see Damping Sphere, just for the fact that it does get cascaded into off the Agent. So that is a little bit surprising to see. Yeah, no, it's unexpected. It's the same idea as Consign. I would not expect to see Consign in Living End because of Agent finding Consign, much in the same way I would not expect to see Damping Sphere when playing Agent because Damping Sphere can be found off of the Cascade. So I'm surprised to see it. Now, is it effective in this instance? Abso-freaking-lutely. But it is a weird one for me to see here. Alright, well, we'll draw. There's Speaker, so we will cast Speaker. Do you has another Subtlety? Opponent says no. So I'm going to pitch the Sprawl, I think. Yeah, the Sprawl's probably the right choice here. We have 4 types in Yard. We can filter for another green source. We want to go for, let's say, the Ice Till to try and ramp into the Ugin. The however but there, of course, is that we need another land in order to make that effectively work. So we instead could just go Myco Spawn, and that would then allow me to ramp, irrespective of whether or not we get another land. That's probably the right choice in the grand scheme of things. The Ice Till is very tempting. I will grab the Myco Spawn, and there's no reason for me not to attack here since we have a blocker for the Charlotte's Agent. This way I can try and keep our life totals somewhat close. Down to 12. Well, I guess now we have no reason not to go for a second green source off the Myco Spawn since Damping Sphere's on board. We'll take another 5 down to 10, and Forest Cycle. Opponent's just trying to ramp in order to cast their bodies at this point. There's the Underground Mortuary, they'll Surveil, Sure. They do have to be mindful of the fact that after this turn, I can start blocking the Breaker. I'll have enough power to kill it. So we'll take another 5 down to 10. End step and draw. There's Cage. 1, 2, 3. I guess we could have played the Ice Till. That's right. We could have filtered. I always forget that for some reason in my head, I always discount one additional mana. I do 1, 2, 3, 4 minus 1, 3, but I think no. Because I would have tapped the Stomping Ground, tapped the Temple, untapped the Stomping Ground, had 2 Temple. We could have played the Ice Still. Oh, you're right. It's one of those math things in my head that I sometimes forget about, but no, the speaker is a filter. It's not a -1. It's not 2 mana to untap. It is a neutral. So it's a neutral filter. So I could have played the Ice Still. Probably would have been the right choice. We have the Misty at the Commercial District, would have ramp 2 instead of just ramp 1. So that probably would have been the right choice, grand scheme. Unfortunately, we did fail to notice that at the time, so we are just going to go with... Well, that does make things more complicated. I think we just have to go for the forest at this point. We could go for the shifting. Shifting's actually not a bad idea, because if we do block this breaker... We also are in an interesting position where we are winning this race. Kind of. No, so I think I'm going to set back on blockers for the breaker. Yeah, we definitely should have went for the Ice Still, actually. Because speaker, untap, filter, yeah. Opponent casts Endurance. Alright, Endurance at my yard, that's fine. Shifting offline. We'll pass. I guess it probably would not have mattered then. We actually would have been down on lands had we done so. So I guess that worked out in our favor. Had opponent Endurance in response to the casting of Ice Till, we would have been sitting there pretty upset. Thankfully, it worked out in my favor, even if it was all in all a mistake. So opponent's attacking all out. Interesting. Why do that right now? Why attack all out? Because reasonably, we want to take out the breaker. That would leave us with a creature? No, it would leave us with 2 creatures behind. So yeah, why do this right now? We take 5 down to 5. We block, triple block the breaker. We get left with 2 blockers. I guess you kill the Formidable Speaker. That way I can't deal with Endurance, would be the thought process here. Alternatively, we can simply just block Endurance, block Agent, and then set up for the triple block later. That might be the better choice. Like, either ways, we're taking 5 damage here. I think this might be the better choice. We'll take the 5, eliminate the Agent, and set up for the breaker kill next turn. End step and draw lab. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, we'll cast Cage. This stops another Betrayal. We'll play Lab. We're currently 1 short of Ugin. No Imprint, and we'll pass at this point. Paying cost for... There's a hard cast Subtlety. So now this means I can no longer triple block the breaker. We're going to have to single block the breaker and block the Endurance independently. So we'll take 3 down to 2, which means at this point we're heavily reliant on this Ugin resolving. Okay. So the question is, do I want to get rid of Endurance here? I want to say the answer is yes. And block like this, keeping the speaker, losing the both Mycospawns, and then taking 3 down to 2 would be correct. So Endurance down. Down to 2. We have a blocker for the breaker, but we need to resolve the Ugin's trigger to get rid of the subtlety at least. Paying cost for... or not. Or they are. So there's Speaker. Speaker will resolve. So at this point, we not only need to resolve the trigger, we need to resolve Ugin to plus and gain life. Opponents shouldn't have Consign, but then again, they shouldn't have Sphere. They pitched Betrayal from hand. It'd be very weird. Like, it's already weird that opponent has Damping Sphere, but it would be even weirder if opponent has Consign here in a Cascade deck. It would just, like, at a certain point, there's too many hits that are dead to Agent. I just don't think it's a wise decision. It's a contentious topic, even the Birthing Ritual community, of whether or not Consign should be played. So they can evoke and it Cage. That's fine, though. We need to draw land. That is a Jailer. That is not a land. And unfortunately, that will be the game. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that Damping Sphere really threw me off. I definitely did misplay by not grabbing the Ice Till when I had an opportunity off a Speaker, because I could filter with Speaker to get to the Ice Till. For some reason in my brain, I was thinking it was a -1, not a net neutral, when thinking about mana production, but that was my mistake. Regardless, a little bit of weird game 2, but we'll be back for match number 2. Alright, we're back for match 2. On the play for game 1, I'll keep. So we're going to Surveil and then set up for Rumble. Probably set up for Ice Till, or play into the blind. Honestly, this return is great if we're playing the Energy, which is a reasonable bet, given its meta share. Yeah, looking at Living End's list, the Damp Sphere is definitely pretty uncommon. But it looks like maybe a copy of Damping Sphere is common enough, but still, interesting to me. Would never have expected it. What are we playing against is the question. Chivalry feels like Affinity, Bauble, yep. Clausagix, yep. So that is Rebuke mana. Also Emery mana. They're passing, so we're gonna have to assume that they have Rebuke up. I kind of hate it here. So we shouldn't play into the Rebuke. And I guess we can force them to have it, but again, just don't feel like we should play into it. If they were to crack the Mishra's Bauble, that would be one thing. Then I would play the Rumble, no questions. But if they're holding up the Mishra's Bauble, that tells me they have the Rebuke. Let's say you, opponent. The good news is on turn 3 we have the return, so they try and set up for Pinnacle Emissary, we can sweep. My concern, of course, is a Kappa coming down. Maybe they'll bobble after the Misty crack Surveil? That would be my thought. Surveil. Second Rumble does make the just casting the Rebuke more palatable, so we'll do that. Draw. Windswept Heath fetch for a forest. And Rumble. Rumble did resolve. Interesting. So we could go Speaker here. We could grab the Gemstone Caverns, though we don't need to if we are going to play the Ice to, let's say. Opponent says, pretty sure I've watched your YouTube videos before. Hello. I appreciate you for watching my videos. Question now becomes what we want to grab. I'm thinking Speaker to try and then enable a potential Emrakul later, because game 1 against Affinity, Emrakul is pretty much what we lean on. We'll grab the Speaker. Add as many types to yard as possible. And at this point, we will pass. Next turn, we could go for an Ice Till and try and ramp some more, up leading into the Emrakul. That is one thought. Otherwise, if opponent tries to set up with a Pinnacle Emissary, we could K-return and sweep the board of drones. Granted, of course, they just don't play the Kappa. So why would they not bobble? Okay, so they gave me the Rumble. Why give me the Rumble and not bobble at any point? Is it just to present the possibility of Rebuke? That, I guess, would be the case, which is smart. If you represent that you could have a known card in the matchup, it makes your opponent second guess themselves. There's Tormod's Crypt, making my Ice Till plan so much worse unless that becomes tapped. There's EE0, one off of Kappa. There's Kappa mana. Do you have the Kappa? Blue. And that feels like Kappa. So opponents mistapping here. They should tap the Chivalry for colorless, the Fiery Islet for blue, and then the rest. And yes, it is Kappa. Okay, so we are in danger now. Turn 2 Kappa, pretty good. Opponent will pass, will draw. Their Sire's 7 death. So, what are our choices now? We could Rumble, try and find Emrakul. Currently, we're sitting at... The problem is, with this Tormod's Crypt, getting to an Emrakul is probably nigh impossible, so our best bet is probably to go for the Cyrus 7 death and attempt to stabilize instead. So, Counter Souls, Eldrazi, play the Ice Till, pick up a land for turn is probably the right choice. So let's go that route and name Eldrazi. We are then going to cast Ice Till and grab a Windswept Heath and mill. Mill another land. We're not going to crack until our turn. That way we can guarantee there's a Windswept Heath in our graveyard to pick back up. So we should be good in that regard. Yeah, for all intent and purposes, we're just passing in full. But this Kappa Cannoneer is going to start beating me in the face pretty quickly. 3 cards in hand. It's unlikely that it will not be... it's very unlikely that I'll be able to block even if I wanted to, which right now I really don't. I say that, and of course they're attacking without me being able to not block. So do I block is the next question. I think the answer is no with what we're trying to accomplish here. So we'll take the 5. Not what I want to be taking, but I think it's correct. So what's in their hand that they have no artifacts? So again, my first suspicion would be Rebuke. They didn't play a land, so it's not a land. Could it be a second Kappa? No, if there's a second Kappa, they would have played Kappa. So what is in their hand that they didn't want to play? It's not a land. Could be Rebukes, but they didn't Rebuke earlier. It's not a Pinnacle Emissary. Though I guess maybe that's not too significant here. Weird. We're going to draw. Go to main. We draw into Devour. We're going to grab the Gemstone Cavern. I guess they could sink in the Stupor. That's true. Gemstone will mill. There's a temple. That is perfect timing. So we'll be able to play the temple and mill. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's also breaker. We're going to fetch down to 12. We're going to try and resolve this Cyrus 7 death to stabilize. Grab a forest and mill. And there's Sire. They don't have mana for sync, so why would they even hold up sync? Yeah, I'm very confused to what we are playing into right now. I think there's no reason for me not to attack with Ice Till, so we're going to attack with Ice Till. I guess they could be holding up sync in case they draw into a source to then bounce back the Sire, I suppose. That is a consideration. Bubble target me. They also have to be conscious of Emrakul here, because I think we're one off of Emrakul now, so they're going to have to Tormod script me prior to my main. They're just going to do it now. Okay, that's fine. So they definitely don't have a second Kappa. So yeah, the only explanation I have is a Rebuke, and they chose not to rebuke the first Rumble. Interesting. They will be able to attack in freely here, which is unfortunate for me, of course. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7. 7 mana. We do have K command. I'm thinking we Rumble next turn is my first thought. Then maybe Speaker. We just need to be mindful about the amount of mana we have to pay for Rebuke. Arcbound Ravager. Interesting. Okay. So even if we Emrakul, it does become a bit complicated now because of Ravager. So I have to be mindful of that. Sacrifice Clausagix to Ravager. That's 10, 11. Sacking Ravager to self is 12. That is lethal damage. Of course it is. Yeah. Modular 1 and 12 damage, or 12 power exactly. 11. Oh, we both did the math incorrectly. Cool. And once concedes. I thought that Ravager sacking itself. Oh, you can't put a +1/+1 counter on something that has been sacrificed. Yeah, opponent sacrifice or pop their crypt. That would have been the 12th. Yeah, that was, yeah, definitely a wrong move at that point in time. If they were going to pop the crypt, they should have done so in my upkeep. They had no reason to do so prior to. So opponent did misplay there, and we got very lucky. So it worked out in my favor. Bubble in, fade in, dismember in. We didn't see Emery, but we're going to assume that they're playing, let's say, 2 copies. Ice still out. Rumble out. What else did I say out here? I want to say Ugin, question mark. Let's take a look. Affinity. Ice Till Breaker, that's right. I determined using the data that Breaker is not exactly a good card in this matchup. Okay. That seems reasonable. Let's run it back. Yeah, I think opponent and I both thought the same thing math-wise, that sacking Ravager to itself would do additional +1/+1, but you can't put a counter on something that's already been sacrificed. Hence, it only transfers the counters on it. We theoretically can make this work. We're looking for a soul land off top. Turn 2 Mycospawn into potentially a turn 3 Sire. We do have to get a little bit lucky along the way. Far-Right Islet for Pinnacle Emissary. It is a Pinnacle Emissary. Bauble, Drone, Claws of Gix. And Opal, which means they have Rebuke mana and Consign mana. Also means that they have a turn 1 Kappa. Cool. Uh-huh. Oh, how I loathe Affinity. The thing is, I don't even mind Affinity at its core. What I mind is Kappa Cannoneer. I will go double green for the potential of a Fade from History in the near future, but I don't think I even get that far. That is 9 damage, so I'm down to 11. I mean, we're not out of it yet, but man, it does not look good. Pinnacle Emissary. Another Warp from hand. So that is 10 damage. I feel like they should have waited a turn for the Pinnacle Emissary, just because they had no reason to make it unblockable this turn, and Pinnacle Emissary could present lethal another turn. That's just my initial take. So again, we do need a land here for Sire, and just hope that opponent doesn't find an artifact. If they find an artifact, we're SOL no matter how you slice it. I will grab Temple, and at this point we pray. Also, I guess that Pinnacle Emissary was from Exile, right? That wasn't the warped one. Alrighty. Bauble for an extra draw. We'll pass. All you need is an artifact, and you got it. And your deck is chock full of them. Not to mention you have a redraw off of Islet as well. Technically 2. Thing is, even if we get to block the Kappa, we are still taking 7 down to 3. Which does mean Sire still gives us a turn if, and the big if, it resolves. White. Blue. 4. EE1, which, I mean, okay. The EE1 was just excessive. We're dead regardless. We'll concede. Alright, let's go to game 3. And EE0 would have been more than enough. So Rumble in, Gemstone out, run it back. On the play for game 3, we'll keep. Excuse me. Alright, so we're going to lab, imprint, cast, and pass. And pass. Flute just naming Consign alone I don't think is worth it. When I evaluate whether or not Flute is good into a specific matchup, I consider both the number of activated abilities in the deck as well as cards I'd like to tax. But you get into such a point where certain decks, there's too many targets to tax, and so you can't do so blindly. So you need to focus more in the activated abilities and which ones are more relevant. So here, the 2 main activated abilities that I can think of, I guess 3, would be Emery, Urza Saga, and Engineered Explosives. Theoretically speaking, you could also go Tormod's Crypt if you're angling for an Emrakul, but I wouldn't think of playing Flute in this matchup. You theoretically could. It could theoretically do well. I'm just not sure if that makes enough sense, if basically Flute's win rate as an individual card would be better than the worst sideboard card we're already bringing in, and I don't know that answer. So the answer is it might be good. It might be worth exploring. Right now, my initial evaluation tells me no. But much like anything, I don't have enough data to say with any degree of certainty, and so it is more or less just a hunch. As a Tron player, I mean, Flute's just good in general. But as a Tron player, you have more flex slots main to fight Affinity in game one. Saga. So, I mean, we could just pop the Saga as a thought speaker. Ooh. Okay. You get interesting. So, speaker's going to resolve. That much is guaranteed. So, what do we pitch to speaker? I'm thinking the shifting woodland. That way we can Misty Rainforest Surveil. Yes, let's do that. So, speaker. And unfortunately, it does mean the shifting woodland is out. I like the Cavern Souls that guarantee the bodies. So I think the shifting woodland right now would make sense to pitch. And then we can fetch Surveil for additional look. And next turn we get a kicked Myca Spawn to deal to Saga. Yes. That would make sense to me. So shifting out, the question now becomes, what do I grab? So we could grab another Myco Spawn, but they don't necessarily need lands to do what they need to do. We could grab Sire 7 Death. That is a decent option. I just realized, though, why do I only have one Sire in deck? Hold up. Oh, because one... Jesus Christ. Me. Why do I only have one Sire? Because one's underneath the lab. Ignore me. So yeah, we could go second Sire. I think Emrakul is a bit of a long shot right now, so I think second Sire makes the most sense. Play Mr. Rainforest and pass. So right now we have access to 5 mana. Next turn we'll have access to 6, and Myca will kick the Saga. If opponent reveals to us their basic island, I think then we might consider going for Ghost Quarter. Otherwise, I think we'll just go for more ramp into Sire. And there's a Spirebluff Canal. That is a weapons. Do you have 0 mana artifacts to dump? You have a Tormod's Crypt. Can't really do much about weapons, so that will always resolve. Another Tormod's Crypt. Emrakul's definitely not happening anytime soon. Neither was that shifting. Mox Opal, so that does represent potential Consign and Rebuke mana. So things to think about. And let's go to end step and fetch, Surveil. K command for later I do like. We draw Cavern Souls, name Eldrazi. We tap, we untap. So no matter what, we need this Saga to die to avoid them from getting a Closet Gix. So that is a no ifs, ands, or buts. So Saga must go. Myco kick, hit the Saga, yield all. Do you have a consign for the exile? Blue. There's the consign for the exile, which means now we're going to grab Ghost Quarter. That Saga will not remain. It is not an option. We are now going to Ghost Quarter Saga, and we'll pass. This does, however, mean we can't play Sire next turn unless we draw into a land. So, just something to keep in mind. And we'll pass. Let's say you opponent, 3 cards in hand. Worst case scenario here is a Kappa for sure. Pinnacle Emissary triggers weapons. They could have hard cast it, so why didn't they? What are they holding up? Double red Ravenger. Well, Ravenger is a problem. That's currently representing 10 damage as it stands. Well, how do we proceed? Because we could theoretically take out the Ravenger at any point in time. The however but issue is that they can put 1, 2, 3, 4, so 6, 7, 8. They can put 8 counters on the drone. And so that is lethal damage. I will draw. There's Lab. So now we have enough mana for Sire. Is Sire our best option is the question. I think the answer is yes. But let me do some math real quick. So we play the Sire. We then, let's say, block the Ravenger, block the drone. We still lose. Because we block the Ravenger, and then they'll sack the munitions, they'll sack the Turmoil Script, they'll stack the Opal, and they will then... Yeah, no, it's not an option. We physically can't do that. So we have to K command instead, which means I probably should have imprinted the Sire to dig one deeper. Alright, so let's cast the K command. We're going to tap, we're going to untap. I'm going to have to hold up double green for Fade, is the idea here. So we're going for Fade. I would have liked to have gone X equals 4 instead of 3. Hopefully hit the Fade. We whiff on the Fade. So we have to bottom all and draw. Sanctum is not it. And at this point, we're just going to concede. We're good. Draw a card. If it's a Fade, I swear. And Moto says, no, you shall not know. Unfortunate. Alright. Well, we'll be back for match number 3. Alright. And we're back for match 3 on the draw for game 1. We'll keep this one. Pitch the Lab. We are suspecting that we are playing against Titan, so keeping this Ghost Quarter pocketed is not a bad idea. There's the Grazer, Bounce Land picks up Forest, yes. So, since we saw Grazer and not turn 1 Amulet, I'm assuming they have Spelunking. For this reason, as much as I would like not to, I'm going to Ghost Quarter Grilled Turf now. I will pass and pass. There's a second Forest. And we draw. There's Rumble. And we'll pass. We should hold on the off chance of Beseiju. Opponent has a Saga. Do they have the Spelunking like I thought they did? Yes, they do. There's the Spelunking. Did my Ghost Quarter impact much? Unfortunately, no, since they had an additional land to press towards the Spelunking. There's Beseiju. They are too short of a... whatchamacallit? Too short of a Titan. Saga Trigger, Lotus Field. There's the Titan mana. Yep. And there's Titan. They have 1 mana remaining. I mean, we're not dead by any stretch just yet. I mean, Crumbling Vestige, Hainweir would make sense here. You're off of Mirror Pool, so yep, Crumbling Vestige, Hainweir makes sense. They'll haste the Titan, and they'll likely go Beseiju Bounce Land, or possibly just Bounce Land plus, I don't know, Saga, pick up the Beseiju that's already on board. So they have options here. They also could go Bounce Land, Bounce Beseiju, Bounce Lotus Field, play the Lotus Field for later. Realizing they could have went one step further here, and they could have went Lotus Field and Mirror Pool, right? Since they would have had 5 mana, and then made a copy, and then Bounce Land, what have you. Well, they're going to pick up the Beseiju, not the Otawara, I'd imagine. Yep, there's Beseiju. We'll take 6 down to 14. Second main, we'll go to end step. And we're going to ramp and scry draw. And done. There's another K command. There's an Emrakul. The problem is they have the Beseiju. I will bottom the Emrakul. That's not happening anytime soon. We'll K command top. And they're going to Beseiju. They Beseiju now. They should have waited until upkeep, I think, because now I can go Commercial District, Surveil. Sprawl to Yard. And 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll go to draw. Devour's a bit short. We will rumble. I'll grab a forest. Play the forest. Unfortunately, I think it's pretty much GG's. Yeah. Make a construct. Tis a 1/1. Will become a 3/3. They should have 2 3/3s that can attack. Says they can haste of Hainweir if they want. Looks like that's exactly what they're going to do. We'll grab an Amulet. Green. Second Titan. So they can go Crumbling Vestige, Vesuva, haste the Titan. And that is representing 15 damage if I don't block the construct. So we're still good. We're still not dead yet. Okay. So again, Vesuva, Crumbling Vestige, or a bounce land so they can bounce the Otawara back, while also having the red source for the Hainweir. Vesuva bounce land, bounces Otawara. Yep, makes sense. But they're missing a red source. I guess they haven't played a land return, so I guess they could pick up the Crumbling Vestige. Returns Gruul Turf, Explore, draws a card. There's Gruul Turf. You pick up the Otawara or the Hainweir, or the Vesuva. Pick up the Otawara. Haste the Titan. They have an extra green. And they're going to go to combat. Okay. Double Primeval Titan, so again, they should have enough mana for the Otawara. Okay. Picks up a Seiju. Okay. Second Titan. Second Beseiju. That's fine. 6 mana. You can Ottawar 1 by tapping this in the Grove Chamber. Keep the Gruul Turf. We'll float this now. Yes. For a forest. Phase change. We're going to K command ramp Scrydraw. X equals 4. There's a K-Return Breaker. We have to block the constructs. We're going to be left with 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. Oofda. Trying to think if I have an out. They have an Ottawar in hand. I think I bottom all here, question mark. There's Mycospawn. Mycospawn's not doing a lot here. We go to blocks. Yeah, I was really hoping they wouldn't besiege you until after blocks. That way I could block and sack the spawn, but no such luck. So now they can Otawara. We'll sack in response to be responsible. So now we're 2 shy of Emrakul. I mean, that would have actually worked if we had taken the Emrakul that we saw in front of the K command. I guess we would have lost the second K command or the Emrakul, not both. Do I have any solutions here? So, I don't believe so. Well, actually, opponent use their Otawara. We have 5 mana. We can play Sire. But I don't think that's going to matter. Because even if you block a Titan, let's say, we then are looking at an additional 9 damage, so that doesn't work. We can devour a Titan, okay. Let's say we theoretically can block a Titan, that's still going to be 6 damage. That's going through with the tokens, so that's not going to work. Yep, we will concede. There's nothing we can do at this point. Alright. Let's go to sideboard. And we bring in Unholy Heat, Flute, drop the K-Return, drop the Cavernous Souls, Gemstone Cavern, and for Amulet Titan, we drop a Sire 7 Death and run it back. Alright, on the play for game 2, I will keep. This is a strong start. We'll reveal Devour. We'll trigger. There's K commands. We go turn 1, turn 2 into Rumble. I will grab K command or Heat. I'm thinking K command here. Lab. Imprint Sire. Cast the Talisman and pass. And pass. T-West tapped. Okay. We'll play the Temple. Before we play the Temple, let's play the Rumble. Rumble. There is a second Mycospawn. We'll grab the second Myco. We'll play the Temple. And we'll pass. And hold. So short of them playing a forest, okay, that's fine. There's Grazer, bounce land, pick up T-West, the Jukabog. That's fine. We'll draw. Emrakul. We're going to kick the Myco. The question now becomes what we grab. I'm thinking the Mycosynth Garden is probably the issue in the immediate. So we're going to go for the Mycosynth Gardens. And I will grab another temple. We don't need to grab the Ghost Quarter yet. I guess they... Actually, no. Going Ghost Quarter might be the right move, in fact. Let's grab the Ghost Quarter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The only problem with that is they do have the ability to then Besage you potentially, but again, they would just need Force Besage you, so let's go Ghost Quarter. I think that makes the most sense. We hold. There's an Amulet, so the Ghost Quarter was correct. The Lotus Field, however, does make things complicated. Yep, that hexproof is quite annoying. So that's 4. You sacrifice 2, keeping the T-West, and then you have an Ice Till. Ice Till will resolve. And then you can pick up Bajuka Bog, I suppose? Yes. We'll yield all. So we can empty opponent's yard with our own Bajuka Bog and hit a land. Let's do that. No attacks. We draw. Let's confirm cards in exile. So yes, we are going to kick another Myco spawn. Myco kick, hit the T-West. And then Bajuka Bog your yard. At this point, we're going to pass and pass. There's Simic Grove Chamber. You can play it twice. We are leaving open another out for Lotus Field, but I don't think there's too much we can do about a second Lotus Field in the grand scheme because of the Ghost Quarter, I suppose. I guess Lotus Field, we could K-Command or get rid of the Ice Till. Maybe that was the right move, is get rid of the Ice Till instead of Bajuka Bogging their yard. It eliminates a similar issue. Ice Till hits. So another 4 mana. I guess you could Keen-Eyed Curator. That's not doing too much here. Maybe killing the Ice Till would have been the right move in the grand scheme. Picks up Scape Shift. That's fine. Picks up Primeval Titan. That's fine. Okay. We'll draw Temple. So we have some choices here. So 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The Ghost Quarter at this point is kind of pointless because of the Spelunking on board. We can ramp and exile the Ice Till and set up for an Emrakul. Because that'd be 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, plus 7, 16. Let's play the Temple. So let's ramp and exile the Ice Till. It might have been correct that we should have done this last turn, for sure. And done. So Ice Till is down. We make a ton of spawns. We can Ghost Quarter target the Simic Grove Chamber now. That might be a wise decision, as that way they're shorter on mana. Let's do that now, because again, we can't do much with the Spelunking. There's a forest, and at this point, we're going to pass. No attacks. And pass. So 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Opponent scoops it up. We got the win. Thinking about it in retrospect, kicking a land and Bajuka Bogging, I suppose, was the equivalent of if we had got rid of the Ice Till, whether it be of K Command or, let's say, a Devour. So that probably would have been the better play. It is one I considered, but opted for the Myco, and probably in retrospect, we should have made a different choice. Thankfully, it worked out in our favor, but it very well could have not. Cavern Souls, Utopia Sprawl, an early Speaker. I will keep. So we want the Forest. Though I guess we want the Misty Rainforest. I guess we have 2 fetches. We want the K command. So I'm thinking the Gemstone Pitch. Turn 1, 2. Turn 1, we play Speaker. So let's kind of math this out real quick. I guess no, we don't turn 1 Speaker. We have to turn 2 Speaker. So this will be our turn 3. So we might actually want to drop the K command as it stands. Yes. We'll pass. So I guess in that case, we're going to Surveil into Sprawl. There is the Amulet. There's Temple. Misty Rainforest fetch. I guess Surveiling here, though, does put the Sprawl at risk. So we're going to go Forest Sprawl. And go for green. And pass. And pass. There's no reason next turn to expose the Temple to Boseiju. Looks like a Spelunking here to try and ramp. So they might be going for a Scape Shift plan then, would be my guess here. T-West, yeah, kind of feels like a Scape Shift. We'll draw. Commercial District. So in that case, let's play the Speaker. Speaker pitch the Windswept. And grab the Myco. We'll then Surveil, Sprawl to Yard, and pass. So next turn we have a kicked Myco into a Ghost Quarter if needed, though the Spelunking again makes the Ghost Quarter that much worse. Lotus Field means they do have Titan. So that makes things complicated. So now they can haste Crumbling Vestige, Hainweir, and then haste the Titan. Allows them to go Bounce Land, Boseiju, or Otawara. No, mainly Bounce Land, Boseiju. I guess actually it does let them go Otawara as well if they want, but I don't think that's the right move. Probably going to go with, well, there's not much to Boseiju, so I guess they might go Otawara for the Speaker. Ghost Quarter. Was not expecting to see that. Well, that complicates things. No blocks. We're going to take 6. I guess with the Ice Till, the Ghost Quarter does make sense. Second Spelunking draws a card. I mean, at this point, I think we're too far behind. I don't foresee an out in the grand scheme. There's another Simic Growth Chamber. Picks up Crumbling Vestige. Has another Bounce Land. They Ghost Guard my Forest. We'll grab another Forest. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6. We still have the kicked Myco for what it's worth. But I just don't know if that's going to be good enough at this point. So we can Myco kick, hit a Simic Growth Chamber, or do we hit the Hainweir? If we hit the Simic Growth Chamber, we cut them down to 2, 3, 5. So 2, 3, 6. Now it's still 6 mana. So I guess the question becomes, if they have another Titan in hand. We also could go Ghost Quarter in order to hit another Simic Growth Chamber and knock them down to 5 mana. No matter what, Titan will likely pick up Boseiju and Boseiju one of my lands. So if we go Temple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So the question is whether or not we want to play the Breaker. And the question also becomes, do we even get that far? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. Grab the Temple, Breaker. We have blockers. They can just Otawara it, though. I think at this point we have to go for the Temple and just hope they don't have another Titan. Well, I guess they could always make more copies of Titan off of Mirror Pool as it currently stands. I think they can do that regardless of whether or not I go after this in a Growth Chamber. Grab the Temple. And we'll pass. And pass. Yeah, I don't foresee a clean way out here. So Titan will attack. They could go Mirror Pool and then copy Titan and then go Bounce Land Boseiju. That is an option. Yep, and that's exactly what they're going to do. So here comes the Mirror Pool line. At this point, now they can go Bounce Land Boseiju to hit the Temple. I don't think they have enough mana. I guess actually no, they could go Echoing Depths. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so they could go Echoing Depths and make another copy of a Titan. They choose not to, instead picking up Gruul Turf and Boseiju. So now they can Boseiju Temple. Yep. We'll use its ability. Stomping Ground tapped. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have enough for the Breaker. The problem is it doesn't matter because they can just attack and then grab an Otawara. And that will cut me off. Grazer. Vestige. You have a T-West? You do. So T-West for Pact, for Boseiju. Echoing Depths. Ghost Quarter. Oh. Yeah, that'll do it. I mean, that truly shuts me out. There's Ugin. We wouldn't short on Ugin anyways. At this point, I'll concede. Alright. Well, we'll be back for match number 4. Alright, we're back for match 4 on the play for game 1. I will keep. Opponent mulligans down to 6. We have a Rumble on 2. Question is whether or not we play the District on 1. I think I want to play the Temple on 1, but I guess Devour will give us a better idea here. Because we do find a second Temple for a K-Command 2 on 2. Let's go Temple. We'll play Temple and pass. This allows for another K command 2 on 2, and then allows us for a K Mega Spawn on 3. Misty Rainforest, passing, we draw, plays the temple and passes. We still don't know what we're playing against just yet. Misty Fetch 19. Surveil Hedge Maze. Keeps it on top. So now I get concerned about two things. Neobrand and Birthing Writ. We're gonna let this, we're gonna go and pray this is not Neobrand. It is not. Saga Hedge Maze. Saga Hedge Maze. Saga Hedge Maze. Cutter? Am I blanking out on Saga Hedge Maze? I guess it could also be Surveillance Cam? Grinding Station, maybe? Oh yeah, I'm all sorts of confused on this one. Second K command, we'll draw. Ugin, kick Maiko. Saga and Hedge Maze. No, Saga Hedge Maze. Could it be some version of Brood Scale, like a Simic Brood Scale, maybe? Opponent scoops it up. We'll take the win, but we're going into this just as blind as when we started. I mean, we're going to keep the Gemstone. We're going to keep the Ghost Quarter. Seeing blue tells me we're going to keep the Cavern of Souls. We don't know if Bajuga Bog is good or not. Saga Hedge Maze. Yeah, that one is definitely throwing me here. The only thing that comes to mind in those colors would be Simic Basking Brood Scale. Yes. Let me see if I can find a list. Simic Basking Brood Scale, yes. Because this plays, obviously Saga, plays Oko. So let's assume, based on the very limited knowledge we have, this is what we're playing against. So we're going to want Hedon, we're going to want Dismemberin. I'm thinking, I guess this version does play Consign. Maybe want the Cavern of Souls. Brood Scale is not a large enough meta share for me to put it onto my sideboard matrix. I mean, Ugin's not doing much in this matchup. If it is Simic Brood, they're playing two basics. I'm thinking we still keep the Ice Till, though we could reasonably drop it. And I guess drop a Rumble and run it back? Sure, let's do that. This hand really doesn't do much for a while. Even if we were to find some acceleration, we'll mulligan. That hand's weird, but sure. Reveal the Devour, looking for K command. Breeding Pool, Shock 18. Blue for Tameo. Amber, okay. So we know what we're playing against now, and I think it is the camera. This is kind of awkward since we lack a green source. I'd like the Micah Spawn, but I don't think we can go for the Micah Spawn, so we'll grab the Wooded Foothill instead. We'll play the Temple and hold Dismember. So I guess it's a Teamer Surveillance. Yes. So Sewer will resolve. Targeting the Tameo? Why would you target Tameo and not my land? Tameo's down, we'll pass. let me see if I can find the Grinding Station deck. Here's Grinding Station. Okay. We'll draw. Gemstone. We'll play the Wooded Foothill and pass. I do desperately need some playables here, though. Hi, Butter. What's up, buddy? There's Emery. Mill. There's more grinding stations. We go to end step and fetch. Surveil. K command top. And draw. So, if I'm not mistaken, how this will work here is they can sacrifice the surveillance camera, target Emery, Emery target surveillance, right? Yes. Hi, Butter. So we need to get rid of Emery here. They have 2 cards in hand. Is there a reason to wait to do this now? Or wait to do it until their turn? I mean, there's a chance they have interaction. I'm not sure what that interaction looks like. I'm going to guess Rebuke would be my best guess here. Still having trouble finding a list, though, to get a better idea of what we're playing against. There's Teamer Steelcutter. They do play Rebuke. So maybe I wait until upkeep. I guess then they'd be able to sacrifice the surveillance camera. Or pick it up with the Emery, but Emery would still be dead. Yeah. I think that's fine. Well, no, I guess they can flash it, though. They can't flash the opals. They can only play it so many times. Would be my thought. Okay, let's go through upkeep. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should play this a bit differently. We'll see. Goes the upkeep. K command, ramp, and exile or scry draw exile. We have the mana we need for Devour next turn. So I'm going to say scry draw exile, the Emery. And done. Is Emery down? Because now if they pay for Rebuke, they're short on mana. So Grinding Station sacrifices Surveillance. Emery targets Surveillance. Tap Amber for Surveillance, target Emery. Well, I guess you'd have to target Grinding Station. Then Grinding Station, sacrifice Surveillance, target Emery. So you can do it 3 times, is the thought. Sacrifices Amber. Why sacrifice Amber there? I guess you can target with Emery, but you lack a legend if Emery doesn't stick. Okay. I'm going to bottom all. There's Sire. Emery's out. We pass in full. Bobble untaps Grinding Station. Okay. So as long as Grinding Station's up, trying to devour the Surveillance cam is not worth it. If they tap the Grinding Station for whatever reason, then we can. That would make sense. Bobble, trigger, and draw. Rumble. I mean, at this point, we should just apply pressure to board. And there's the Sire, and we'll pass. Paying cost for Rebuke. That is Rebuke. We will not pay the cost. So they did have... So they must have drawn into the Rebuke then, would be my only thought. Interesting. Hedge Maze Surveils. And we draw. K-Return, not doing too much right now. I should play the Gemstone to pay for Rebuke, potentially. There's Emrakul. We'll take the Emrakul. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If we had gone for the lab, then we could have went for Emrakul. Unfortunate. I suppose we could have done that math. Yeah, maybe it would have been worth doing that math. And opponent scoops it up, we'll take the win. So this is Grinding Station, or I guess it's people labeled as Cutter. And I guess it doesn't matter because we won game 1, game 2. Okay, interesting. Yeah, so I guess I should have done that math on, like, there's potential that we find Emrakul, get enough types. We should have played the lab and printed Devour for the potential for Emrakul, even though Devour at that point isn't doing too much. So I guess the downside of that is we then put Devour in a position to be with Sejude, which we also don't want. Yeah, I think the line we took was correct. But regardless, we'll be back for match number 5. Alright, we're back for match 5 on the draw for game 1. Shadowy Backstreet Surveil. Could be a few things here. First thing that comes to mind, of course, is Blink. We'll draw, play a forest. We'll go red or for green. We can't play ice till next turn, so we'll go red. And we'll pass and pass. Representing that it could be a K-Return. That is an Overlord of Baelmerk. Really does look like traditional, like, Orzhov Blink. Interesting. They pick up Graveyard Trespasser. That's fine. And draw. Second Temple. We get the Hold Up the K command. Flooded Strand. Could still be Esper. We haven't seen a blue source yet, but could still very well be Esper. But no, still looks like Orzhov. There is a Flicker Wisp. You can target the Overlord of the Baelmerk with it. You do. That will resolve. Not much I can do about that. Flicker Wisp will trigger. Or Overlord will trigger. We see a Solitude. Why would they not return a card with Overlord of the Baelmerk? That is peculiar. X equals 2. Done. There's Emrakul. We're far off in Emrakul. So we're going to go bottom, bottom draw. Do not want to see a lab. We'll draw. There's Sire. The problem is, of course, that they have the Solitude in Yard, so I think my best bet here is to Micah Spawn Bajukabog the Solitude out of Yard. So let's go Temple and kick with the Myco Spawn. Myco kick, hit the Shadowy Backstreet, yield all. And let's Bajukabog. This way we get that Solitude out of Yard, and I feel a bit more safe playing the Sire. Body of the board. And we'll pass. Would have definitely have liked to have seen, let's say, a Devour instead to get rid of the Overlord, but no such luck. Overlord trigger. Sees. What the fresh hell is this? Idyllic Range, Plains. Oh, it's Throne of Eldraine. Okay. Picks up Flicker Wisp from hand. That's fine. I'm going to say no blocks here. We'll take the 8 down to 12. We'll draw. There's Devour. So we are set for Devour then. We'll play the Shifting Woodland, and we'll simply attempt to Devour the Overlord of the Baelmerk. Am I ever tapping? I am. I should have fetch surveilled them. I miscounted. Hit the Overlord. Do you have an Ephem? You do. At least now we have a body to block, potentially. We'll pass. Finds nothing, so they fail. Returns no cards. Target will fail, and we'll pass at this point. Ephem will pass. If they don't have a way to get through Devour, they'll likely just Ephem the Overlord again. Yeah, that Ephem was a bit of an issue. Flickerous will attack me down to 9. I am surprised to see just a bog standard Orzhov blink list, not like a Jeskai or Esper. Feels like you're putting yourself at a disadvantage no matter what, because you either miss out on like Consign, or you miss out on Flage and Ragavan. So it seems interesting. Though I haven't really had my finger on the pulse of... Oh, interesting. Flickerous target Devour. Fascinating. Okay. So I guess now Overlord can attack freely. Yeah, why wouldn't you just Overlord then? Interesting. Plays Witch Blessed. Tap, though. They attack. There's Orcish Bowmaster. Turns Solitude, though. That makes sense. I'll block... Let's see. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We'll block with the Myco Spawn. That's another type T yard. So they could Solitude Devour, of course. And draw. I will cast Syra's 7 Death. So they most likely will have to get rid of the Sire. I guess they can Solitude target Devour, Overlord, pick up Solitude, exile the Sire as well. That is an option. There's Felia. That also becomes an issue. I think we do have blockers. There's Solitude, pitching Flicker Wisp. Solitude target, Sire. There's Ward. Will yield all. So that's fine. We gain some life. We still have Devour. Is a Flicker Wisp, target Devour. So now you can attack in. Overlord pick up Solitude. Felia will flicker a Eldrazi spawn. We'll block the Overlord. And take 5 down to 14. Overlord goes digging, and they're flickering the Flicker Wisp. Why? I guess you could go after one of my lands. If I had to guess, you are going to pick up the Solitude. Yep, picks up the Solitude, flickers the Flicker Wisp. And we'll block. Do I block the Felia? I don't think we need to at this time, but I don't think there's a reason not to either. Again, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I guess this does represent 13, so let's keep that back. Alright, go to end step. Felia, Flicker Wisp. We get back Devour. Felia, Flicker, Flicker Wisp. Flicker Wisp will get back Spawn. I'll sack it in response. And then let's fetch. 4 types in yard. Commercial district. Surveil. There's Rumble the top. And phase change. Let's start with, let's see, double green. We'll go green. I guess we don't need red. So let's go Rumble. There's Ugin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We grab Ugin. And we will play the forest. Ugin. So we should probably Ugin target the Overlord. The problem is that Ugin will go down. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that fact. So yeah, we'll get rid of the Overlord. Ugin will plus and draw. Utopia Sprawl, not what I want to see right now. We'll pass. Felia will attack and flicker the Devour, and they'll likely then attack Ugin. Keep in mind they also have a Solitude in hand. 3 mana for Graveyard Trespasser takes the K return out of Yard. Yep, makes sense. And then attacking. All at Ugin, makes sense to me. Flickers the Devour. And we'll draw. Okay. If I could stop drawing into bricks, that would be really cool. Well, I will sprawl onto the forest and go red, I suppose. And I'll play the Verdant Catacombs the Thin. We have a second blocker in the way of Sowing Mycospawn, so we can do that. Graveyard Trespasser will not flip because we play the Sprawl. Windswept Teeth fetch, 11. Godless Shrine, tapped. Question is, do I want to use the Shifting Woodland as a blocker here? I mean, this is representing 12 damage, 13 damage, Emperor Bones. I mean, this is looking pretty grim, because now they can pick up the Overlord as well. Emperor Bones hits the Overlord. Yep. Then I imagine they will adapt. There's the adapt. That will resolve. They put the Overlord on board. There's Kirill. They can pick up another Solitude. That's exactly what they do. Go to attacks. Graveyard Trespasser targets. Sowing Mycospawn. In response, we will target the Sowing Mycospawn. This way we can block. We'll still take 1 down to 15. Overlord. There's another Solitude. Devour is out. There's Solitude. Targeting the Mycospawn. At this point, we're going to pass in full. Up to 18. We're down to 1. Yep. Sacrifice the Overlord. They should have at least 1 more Solitude in hand. We'll draw. Yeah, sure. We'll concede. So this is Blink. Lost for game 1. We really saw so few threats. Jesus. Alright. So this seems to be OG Orzhov Blink. So we'll say return out, heat in, dismember in. But Jukabog stays, Cavern out, Gemstone out. We don't know how many basics they're playing, but it's a 2 colors. I'm going to say Ghost Quarter out, keep the Ice Tills, and run it back. Alright. Could argue maybe Vexing Bobble in. But I think that's about it. It's been a while since I've thought about, like, Orzhov Blink. I wonder if I can find a list. Let's see. Jeskai Blink. Mardu Energy. Haven't seen Mardu Energy in a hot minute. We'll be on a play for game 2. I mean, that is a sprawl, but we have nothing else. Yes, if we find a lab, we can play the Ice Still on 2, but that doesn't do much. We'll mulligan. This is much better. I will pitch the forest, and done. Wooded Foothill, fetch for a forest. We have to be mindful of White Orchid Phantom, most likely. Do we go double green or red? Let's go double green, since we do have the Ice Still and a fetch and yard. And we'll hold. Windswept Teeth in passing. We'll draw. Sire. So we are going to play Lab, Imprint Sire. And I think if we just go for an Ugin on 3, we just win. So I'm going to hold the K command X2 and look for a land off top would be my thought. Because I think if we resolve Ugin here on turn 3 with no threats on board, it's pretty much GG's. Is the White Orchid Phantom? It is. So they're going to target the Ugin's lab. We'll tap in response. And search for a forest. Then K command X equals 2. The question now becomes, do I want to ramp in Scry Draw? Realistically speaking, we are not going to be able to play the Ugin next turn. We'll have 2, 4, 5, at most 6. We don't want them to EFM, but they have nothing to actually hit. So I think I'm actually going to say, yes, we'll ramp in Scry Draw here. They have nothing to hit with the White Orchid. It kind of becomes pretty pointless. There's Unholy Heat, there's Sprawl. Both are good in the grand scheme. We can sprawl onto a forest. We can even sprawl stack. Of course, we then kind of get hosed by a Flickerus. Just need to be mindful of that. So we might want to split green, green, red. We could Speaker, not to search, but to ramp. That would be the thought. But we would have to sacrifice a spawn to do so. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'd need a sprawl stack in order to do that, though. I don't think the heat's doing much right now. So I'm going to say heat bottom. I think sprawl bottom as well and draw. There's another forest. And we'll draw Ice Still. Well, that works. So we are going to cast Ice Still. 2, 4, 6, 7. We mill. Ugin to yard, and we're passing. Two for what? Sheoldred's Edict, so Ice Still out. That's fine. Since I do not have any more forests in my deck, what I should do here is not fetch until right before we cast Ugin. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, yes. We draw, land, we fetch, we shock, we cast Ugin. I guess we can cast the Sprawl. For red. Ugin, target white orchid, yield all. There's the marsh flats. So I imagine an Ephem here. That's not the end of the world at this point. Yep, there's the Ephem. Hits the white orchid, hits my stomping ground, that is fine. So we played around that line pretty well. We are going to choose to shuffle, just to shuffle our bottom. And draw, there's a breaker, and we'll pass. Ephem, not doing much, they'll probably just swing 2 at Ugin. Range, puts +1/+1 on counter. 4 mana for Witch Enchanter, sure. White Orchid will attack. And we'll draw. Rumble. We could rumble, but then we run into a potential issue where we can't play the breaker. It very well might just be safer for me to Ugin 0, play breaker, exile white orchid, exile a land. Let's do that. Breaker. Ugin exile white orchid. Breaker hit. Anything else this land does? No. So we'll hit the black source. So that way no more Sheoldred's Edict. Body will hit board, and we'll pass. And pass. What say you, opponent? With the Ugin on board, it's going to become very difficult for them to do much. Even next turn, we could Speaker, pitch a card, pick up Ice, not Ice Stone, Myco Spawn, 0 Ugin, exile another one of their cards, right? Flicker Wisp can hit my Forest, hits the Witch Enchanter, hits the Sprawl, same difference. We'll draw. There's a Temple, so yes, we can now Speaker, well, not really. Guess, well, we can 0. We 0, 6, 3, 5 would be the thought. I'm going to start with a Rumble, I think. There's Devour. So that would be 2, 5, or 2, 4, 7. So we'll go Devour. Wheel 0. Temple and Devour. So Devour target, Ugin target, and pass. Go to combat, swing for 5. Down to 13. Lethal is not on board. We are too short. Bog, Bolt. Lethal is now on board. They have enough mana for a Solitude. We'll draw. There is another breaker. So my thought here would be to simply attack. Then we'll eat the Solitude. Attack all. Here comes the Solitude. Yep. Which one do you exile? Exile Breaker. Makes sense. That way Breaker can't return. Do you block the Devour? You do. Okay. Up to 13. So, what can we do here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. I'm thinking we're just going to 0 again and cast another Breaker. Ugin, no targets, unfortunately. Breaker will break. Thinking about the Bog, since it does represent a creature or a second blocker, a Flicker Wisp. And we'll pass. I have 1 card in hand. Again, we're 2 shy of lethal. One plays a Baelmerk, picks up the Solitude. Yep. Baelmerk trigger. And we'll draw. Commercial District. Let's go attacking to start. I will then 0. I'll cast Speaker. Speaker will pitch District. And I will grab a Myco Spawn. Unfortunately, we are 1 short of Emrakul. Ugin, target Devour. Or target Overlord. And what do I have in my yard right now? We have an Ice Till. Is that really it? As far as targets for shifting, we'll still take the shifting, I think. So Overlord down, bodies are on board, and we'll pass. They still have a Solitude in hand. And both scooted up, we'll take the win. Alright. So I'll bring in the Gemstone, trim a Rumble, and run it back. Ugin's a pretty good card in this matchup. Granted, they don't already have an established board state like in Game 1. Is that so, Butter? Yeah? Butter's making noises behind me. What you doing back there, bud? Okay. We can make this work. I'll keep. We'll pass. Shadow Backstreet Surveil. Windswept Teeth to Yard. We'll draw. Myco Spawn. We'll play the Wooded Foothill and pass. Flooded Strand. And go to end step. We'll fetch Surveil. Again, we're angling towards this Ugin. Mystery Rainforest to Yard. And draw. Gemstone Cav, you're a little bit late. So I'm thinking we're just going to go Stomping Ground tapped, hold up Heat. And then go for Myco. Let's see if opponent goes for Thalia here. They do not. Witch Enchanter to Yard. Some people have asked me about Ancient Stirrings before, and personally I'm just not a fan of Ancient Stirrings, because most times when you're playing Ancient Stirrings, you're trimming on your 7-mana value spells and your threats and not lands. If you're trimming lands for it, I'd be a little bit more for it, but you're not 9 times out of 10. Second Myco Spawn. So the only issue that I see here is that in order to play Mycospawn and ramp to Ugin, I guess actually no. So we can play the Mycospawn. I have an idea. So play the Mycospawn because Ugin doesn't care about Temple. So we can just go for a fetch here and find another stomping ground. So we have the second stomping ground. We'll go for a fetch and hold up the heat for the Felia. Do you have a Felia? You do. So Felia will resolve, but not before I fetch. Stomping ground, shock, Felia, and heat. Felia down and pass. And pass. We are short on mana for Ugin. It is a white orchid. It's a Flickerwisp hit the lab. That one's kind of interesting because we could imprint the Ugin and kick the Mycospawn, but I'm not inclined to do so as we want this Ugin to resolve. So I'm going to say no. We'll draw another Mycospawn. Alright, well let's start by attacking with Mycospawn. See if they want to trade. Otherwise, we're just going to apply pressure. Given they went to Flickerwisp, I'm going to assume they don't have a white orchid in hand. They will choose the block, and that's good for us. I will then cast another Mycospawn. Yield all. Not enough types in yard to warrant shifting woodland. We could Bajuka Bog. I'm not sure if that's worth it, but it's a consideration. I think I'm going to go Temple instead here. I think that makes the most sense. Play the Gemstone and pass. So we are now primed for Ugin next turn. Granted, opponent does not... Actually, even if they interact with Temple, that's fine. They found the Thoughtseize, though. Takes the Ugin, of course. So they must have drawn the Thoughtseize. That is quite unfortunate. That's an Overlord of the Baelmerk. They find Felia, Flickerwisp. Maybe I should have Bajuka Bogged after all. Get rid of the Flickerwisp. Oh, it's so unfortunate. Good old Thoughtseize off the top. So now question becomes, they choose Emperor Bones. I feel like that was the wrong choice because now we can Bajuka Bog and get rid of their yard. There's Talisman. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to kick the Myco. There's no reason for me to play the Talisman of the Forest. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, or 12, 13. I guess opponent will take a card out of my yard. So I guess maybe there is on the off chance we get to the Emrakul. So let's start with Talisman. The only thing I'm thinking of here is keeping this forest in case of a speaker. Myco kick, hit the Shadowy Backstreet, yield all. We're then going to Bajuka Bog to get rid of all their options in yard. So now they can't go for Emperor Bones. Marshlands fetched, down to 13. Surveil, I'd imagine. Gala Shrine tapped. Shore. We'll pass. Arid Mesa. Emperor Bones. No. Flickerwisp. Flickerwisp hits the Overlord. Yes. Opponent passes. Overlord comes back. Sees Witch Blast and Felia. I imagine you take the Witch Blast. Choose the Felia. Okay. We'll draw. Cyrus 7 Death is good here. I will cast Sire. And pass. No attacks. And pass. Casting Emperor Bones. I guess you can then Overlord and adapt and try and find Solitudes, would be the thought. I mean, if you attack with Overlord, though, I'm going to double block with Myco Spawn guaranteed. So I imagine Overlord target, or Emperor Bones hits Overlord, yes. Do you go for the adapt? You do. You're down to 12. So maybe they already have a Solitude in hand, is the thought? Maybe. Overlord enters, they find a Solitude, and we know they have a Felia in hand for the Solitude. So they can Solitude at this point, and then hit the Sire. And the benefit of Solitude going back to Yard is now they can pick up the Solitude with the Overlords attacking. Yes, opponent's down to 5. They do need to be careful of the crackback. So they're only attacking in with that Overlord. That makes sense. So Overlord will attack. There's another Solitude, another 3 Solitudes. There's another 2. There's 3 in the yard. Imagine they pick up a Solitude. Yep, we'll take the 8 down to 15. Not much we can do about that. If I could find another Ugin, that would be great. Otherwise, I suppose if we could find an Emrakul, that would also be great. Draw. K command. K. K command makes things interesting. So we can dig 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 deep. I'm trying to think here. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So you would have 13 for Emrakul. And we would not if we found a Speaker. So we shouldn't hold back a card for Speaker. We should play the Forest and hold back 1, though, for Rumble. Rumble does potentially matter. So we'll go X equals 7. So that will be 7, 8, 12, 13. Yes. Done. We do not find the Emrakul somehow. So we can Rumble. Are there types in Yard that we want to put in Yard right now? No. So instead, I should put all but Rumble to bottom and then Rumble. Rumble top and Rumble. So now we have 11, and we find an Ice Still. I don't even know what to say anymore. My luck feels like it's been under a rock. So like all my threats are at the bottom, or were at the bottom. We dug 7 deep, and we looked an additional 4, and we saw 0 threats. What in the world? Okay. So what do we want to do here? I mean, we're not playing Ice Till this turn. That much is guaranteed. There's no cards in yard that I really want, and I don't want to fetch either is the problem. I physically do not want to fetch. The reason being is if I fetch, I shuffle back in all the things I don't want to see on the bottom. So I guess we can grab the fetch and theoretically play it. Thing is, we only have basics left, don't we? So I guess we'll just take the ice still. Screw it. I guess so. We'll just take the ice still. Alright, we'll pass. In retrospect, maybe bringing in 6 would have been a wise decision in this matchup, actually. I'm realizing now that 6 would have been a good choice. The main reason being is that this is a much more grindy matchup, of course, as we're clearly seeing. Here's the unfortunate truth, though. Opponent can now attack in with Overlord and pick up pick up the Clarion Conqueror, and can brick my Eldrazi spawns. I don't know if Vexing Bobble's worth it. Yeah, it hits Solitude, it hits Ethem Rebound, but I've never found Vexing Bobble to be especially necessary in this matchup in the grand scheme. I don't have a response. Yeah, that's fine. So why take White Orchid from your yard? I'm confused by that. Overlord. Overlord sees Damsphere, Ethem, Thelia. Again, I think they pick up Clarion Conqueror, yeah. So we're just going to feed a spawn to Overlord. We know they have Solitude. I guess we could double block and just force them to Solitude. Sure, let's do that. But yeah, I think in retrospect, probably bringing in a 6 would have been worth it. Interesting, give me the Overlord. Was not expecting that. Hi, Butter. How you doing, buddy? Yes, that's a microphone. Oh, I see. You put a counter on the Overlord with the Grange. That makes sense. Sure. So you pick up the White Orchid, and you pop a Temple. Again, I don't think I want to shuffle. You pop the Commercial District. Huh? I am choosing not to shuffle. I'm very confused, however. There's Clarion Conqueror. Sure, that's fine. Not ideal, but fine. What else you got? No, don't play with fires. Hey, you, don't play with fires. I'm gonna take you off. Come here. Come here. Off the desk. No wires. No wires for boys. Okay, you go Phantom again. And you hit that. Sure. Again, I'm going to say no. Because I don't want to shuffle my deck. So again, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We have enough for Emrakul. Hey, what are you doing? Stop that. Bones trigger. And we draw. I don't know what to say anymore. You, come here. No play to fires. I'll play the Ice Till. Do I even want to... Okay, I guess we'll do this. Forest, Ice Till... Butter. Stop, bud. And then I will go Commercial District just so I can surveil. There's a Cyrus 7 death. Is Sire too late to the party? Butter. Stop. Stop playing with wires. Yes, I know you're very cute. I know you want attention. I'll give you attention. Just let me finish what I'm doing. He doesn't care. In the slightest. Yeah, so the question is Sire too late to the party? Do they have a Solitude in hand? Better. I feel like they do. Either that or there's one in exile that I'm not accounting for. No, they have a Solitude in hand. We're going to take how much damage here? We're going to take 2, 5, 8 down to 4. Gain 7 up to 11. I guess Sire's fine. It's not ideal, but fine. We can't attack. I guess Sire actually is warded, so we're fine there. Yeah, they can't pay the ward cost with Solitude right now. You're correct. So this is okay. Again, we're going to choose not to... Yeah, we're going to say no. There's Solitude. Why play the Solitude now? It's the ice still, that's fine. Land. I guess if they had another EFEM, that would make sense. It's the temple, that's okay. So attacking with the flyers, we'll take 6 down to 8. We'll draw. And yeah, we'll just play the Sire. We'll pass. The Sire is, for all intent and purpose, hexproof because they're under 7 life. How much toughness do they have? So if they were to block with these two, we take out that 2, 5. Theoretically, they could trade with Sire. Yeah, theoretically they could trade with Sire. Well, I guess... No, can they? No, they can. So they have another Solitude. They'd be the 4th Solitude, but they do not. We'll draw. There's Devour. Devour does change the math. Devour target Emperor Bones. So there's an EFEM question mark. What is this? Another Solitude? So Solitude. Target Emperor Bones. As the last card in EFEM, we'll attack with Sire. So this is 3, 5, 7, but then not enough to kill the Sire. We'll attack with Sowing Megaspawn as well. No reason not to. Because then it puts them back under 7. So they need an EFEM here. They block with the Flicker Wisp. Okay. Okay. You need to block with 2. That's non-negotiable. You still need to block with 2. Sire has Menace. It still has Menace. There we go. Alright. You're down to 9. Flooded Strand. Fetch down to 8. Well, this definitely has changed the flow of the game. Felia. But now you're back to 7, which means you can't Felia Flicker Solitude. I mean, we're both in top deck mode, but opponent fetching there ended up putting them back under 7. Because they must have fetched Shocked? How did they get to 7? Weren't they at 9? Weird. Okay. So what's the thought process here? Okay. What is this? Sheoldred's Edict. Ah, that is smart. Okay, so now we can just use these as blockers. I can't sack them, but we'll use these as blockers. So there's the Sheoldred's Edict. We use those as blockers. You're up to 10. We're up to 15. We draw. Myco Spawn. So we can... Let's first go to attackers and attack with Devour. See if you block. Because activated abilities of artifact creatures and planeswalkers, but that does not include lands, and that is relevant here, because we still have access to the Shifting Woodland. 1, 2, actually, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, no, so we don't have enough, so we'll kick. Mega Spawn kicks. We'll kick the Shadowy Backstreet. And we'll grab a Shifting Wood. So now, Shifting Wood represents lethal off of Sire, even with Solitude attacking. So they no longer can attack with more than one creature here because of Shifting Wood unless they find an answer. Let's see if they realize that. So Felia flickers Solitude. And we'll just block the Felia. Felia's down. I don't think opponent realizes the position they're in. Because while Clarion Conqueror stops... stops artifacts and etc., it does not stop lands. And dead. All right. That was a grindy as hell game. Was not helped by the fact that my cat was playing with wires, but that was one hell of a grindy game. I definitely think in general I should be bringing in 6 in these matchups just because of how grindy it is. So I'll just need to keep that in mind. Regardless if it's Orzhov Blink, Jeskai Blink, Esper Blink, bring in 6. 6, good card. But solid win. A pretty rough start to this league with a 2-3 record at the end of 5. Living End was just unexpected. Our game 1 was pretty lopsided in favor of opponent. Our game 2 was a bit more palatable, but still pretty rough in the grand scheme of things. Affinity, we had a solid game 1, but game 2, 3, we just could not keep up with opponent with how quickly they were able to advance their board state. Again, Affinity just feels like it is legacy power level, and I think as more people figure that out, I think Affinity will grow more popular. I mean, we've been seeing that for a while. I guess there has been a drop in play rate of Wrath of Skies. Maybe if Wrath of Skies sees more play, Affinity will go down again. We'll have to wait and see there. Amulet Titan, of course. We had a solid game 2, but Titan did Titan things, and we just could not keep up, unfortunately. Cutter was a solid win. I really don't think the current iteration of Cutter is there just yet. I initially had a little bit of worry reserved for Cutter with the surveillance camera, as it did seem that it had potential to be in the same realm as Grinding Breach, but given how interactive it is, or rather how easily it is to interact with it, I'm not as worried about Cutter, as it does very much rely on Emery, and if your combo relies on a creature, you always have to remember that there's a ton of creature removal out there, hence I'm not too worried about surveillance camera. As far as Blink, I mean, the matchup still feels great, but this was definitely much more grindy, as it was a more traditional Orzhov Blink. I think anything with the Black Splash for Overlord of the Baelmerk is going to be more grindy. I do think that I probably did miss sideboard by not bringing in 6. But overall, solid matches, as per usual. You know, sometimes win some, sometimes lose some. The deck is still performing very well. I know it cannot seem that way when we're posting a lot of 2-3s or 3-2s and not a lot of 4-1s or 5-0s. But realistically speaking, if I'm looking overall across like 44 some odd matches for meta specific decks, so like the top decks of a 3% meta share or greater, I'm looking at a 54.5 or 55% win percentage across 44 matches. Our worst matchups being Titan, that's a no brainer. Goryo's Vengeance I do find to be a bit difficult. I think a competent Goryo's pilot is difficult to play against in game 2-3. Game 1's a bit easier, but game 2-3, when they start playing more control adjacent, it does definitely become a bit more of a difficult matchup. But I mean, the deck so far has had a good win rate, of course, into Energy, 81.8 or 82% win rate, into Blink in 80% win rate. Somehow, actually, Ruby Storm, we're currently only have lost one Ruby Storm match, and then also pretty decent win rate into Zoo. So right now, I think my biggest concerns for this deck going into RCQ season is definitely Affinity, Titan, and probably Neobrand. Neobrand always feels like a bad matchup because you either win because they did not do their thing, or you won because they did not do, or rather, you won because they did not do their thing, or you lost because they did their thing. There's no real in between, and you can try and interact, but they just have a lot of ways to circumvent that interaction in games 2-3, where you're probably losing game 1 unless they fumble, which a competent pilot will not. Belcher feels good. I'm not too worried about Belcher, but also is not one of the major decks right now if we do look at meta share. So I'm not too worried about Belcher overall, both from a win rate perspective, but also just from a meta share perspective. Though actually, I will say, in the last 7 days, Belcher has risen to 3.1%, so we'll add that to my sideboard guide. Belcher, though, I mean, we have Ghost Quarter main, we have Ice Till main, so we're able to do the Ice Till loops and those shenanigans. Game 2-3, we have access to interaction as well, so I'm not too worried about Belcher. I feel confident into the matchup and knowing when and how to interact. But overall, I'm still feeling pretty good about the deck. I'm still feeling pretty good about its win percent. Of course, it's not like the 60+% that I was getting previously, but I think that's solely from the fact that I'm just playing less Magic. Unfortunately, just don't have the time to play like 2-3 leagues a day. Regardless, though, we are going to end the video there. As always, if you did enjoy it, please do consider hitting the like button, comment down below if you did see any lines that I missed, any mistakes that I made, or any general feedback be much appreciated. For as much that I hope you all learn from me in both my success and failure, I hope I can learn from you all as well. Last but not least, if you have reached the point in the video and haven't already, please consider hitting the subscribe button as we continue to grow this channel. However, if you would like to watch these videos recorded live over on Twitch, you can find me there at insert time here. My schedule is pretty sporadic, so I'd recommend follow me on my socials or join my Discord server. That way you can find out when I go live. Otherwise, you can head over to my Patreon where you can find these videos ad-free and early. With that being said, though, folks, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.